following yesterday's controversy at Lord's, thank you very much, John Fingleton, or Fingers, as he's known to his friends, a member of the MCC, that's true, Dan, by the way, who was in the long room whilst the Australian players took some abuse from other members, joined Hawksbee and Jacobs, and said the behaviour was unacceptable.
I was shocked and I was disappointed. It was not the way an MCC member should have behaved. You know, they should have other ways of expressing their opinions without shouting, screaming, or in some cases using I don't know if they were using physical violence or not, but there were apparently worse scenes on the staircase. And of course, I think to some extent the Australians, I'm told that Warner was egging them on.
And from Fingers, we can go to a Bumble. Joining us now on the show is the legendary English cricketer and broadcaster, David Lloyd. Bumble, hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Andy.
Thanks so much for coming on. I suppose the first obvious question is, what did you make of the controversial wicket yesterday?
What, Johnny Bairstow?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look great to me, and it depends if you go by the letter of the law. And what he could have said, the captain of Australia, what he could have said, look, don't come to me. I don't make the rules. He was out of his ground. We broke the wicket. He was out. Don't come to me. But you could just say, and I would definitely do it because it depends what sort of person you are. I would have withdrawn the appeal and just said to him, listen, don't keep taking the mick out of us and give us a little bit more respect or you're out. So there's different ways of doing it. Letter of the law is out.
David, I heard someone talking this morning, knows more than cricket than I, but they were talking about the kind of acknowledgement around the cricket game that once you mark your crease with your foot, you know, where you kind of draw an invisible line with your foot, is that he did that, and that should be enough, not the umpire, doing whatever he needs to do to move it on to the next over. Would you agree with that? Is that something that's normal?
No, I don't agree with that. He'd been going out of his ground. He got under a bouncer. He'd been going out of his ground at regular intervals, just going out, wandering out. And they'd obviously latched onto it because the wicket-keeper, Carey, in the same movement, he's not delayed anything. He's caught the ball and in the same movement, he's broken the stumps and he's out of his ground. Now, it's a naive way of getting out. It's an unsavoury way of getting out. There's many people in the game. Ben Stokes was one. He said, I would have withdrawn the appeal. Now, Australia saw it differently. I have no problem with that. That's the way they play the game. Don't come to me, says Pat Cummins. It's nothing to do with me. He was out of his ground. The umpire gave him out. So you've two different ways of looking at it. But like that will create controversy. But it's about time because it's been all so lovey-dovey as this Ashes. Yeah. It needed a bit of spark.
Yeah. But would you have had a problem if we would have done it, Bumble?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of them things. I mean, you play it hard, and they always say you play hard, you play tough. It's a non-contact sport. And so, by the letter of the law, this lad wandered out of his ground, Johnny Bairstow, who I think is a fabulous cricketer, and he brought the wicket keeper. You don't need to go any further. You can ask everybody in the world. Some will say, yes, I'd have done it. Others have said, no, I wouldn't have done it. And so, Pat Cummins, who seems to be a nice enough bloke, he said, no, it's nothing to do with me. He was out of his ground. The umpire gave him out. Ben Stokes comes on and said, I'd have withdrawn the appeal.
Well, do you think this is going to trigger a positive or negative reaction? Because what I mean is, sometimes when you play sport and your emotions too high and there's too much revenge in your mind, you can get a bit too aggressive and too stupid with your eagerness to win the next one to shut them up. Do you know what I mean?
I do, Danny. And I think when I've just said it needed a spark to ignite this Ashes series, and certainly the way that Ben Stokes played after that incident, he obviously, got his dander up really and played wonderfully well. But there's also that they say it'll come back and bite you in the backside. And so there are 3 more matches to go. But it needed a spark. It's never has been all lovey-dovey as at the Ashes. And that might be the spark. England have got to come back from 2-0. Now, they've played some lovely cricket. Let's go to football, Danny. You can play beautiful football and lose.
Yeah.
About win. You've got to win.
Bob, while I've got you, give me your thoughts on what happened in the long room as well.
Well, I didn't see that, but I mean, what if it had been at Headingley or Durham? They'd all have got banned, wouldn't they? They'd have thrown a lot of them out. It's at Lord's and it's a tut-tut. And my word, What are we going to do next? I wonder what it would have been like if it had been Headingley or Old Trafford or up at Durham. Would they have the same reaction? We're going to have a full investigation into this, and it's not good enough. Yeah, you know, the lads themselves going up the stairs may just have had a word back. And I'm sure they would have done. But you know, we're talking about this. We should be talking about a great test match, a wonderful test match. England need refining. I like the way that they're playing. It just needs one or two rough edges knocking off it, and I think they'll be okay. But they've got to come back from 2-0. I don't think they can.
Bumble, I've not watched a load of cricket, but I've watched nearly all the Ashes, and the one obvious thing to me, which people are talking about, and I've even noticed myself, so it tells you how obvious it is how we've struggled with the short ball. And even though our attitude is positive in trying to win the match, I get that, but surely we've got to learn in the next test. How many wickets have they had from that short ball?
Well, it's gone both ways for both teams. They were exactly the same. Having trouble with not rapid short ball in round about 80, 82 miles an hour. Now that's not rapid. And so if there are three men parked out on that leg side boundary, your percentages are all against you. And the technical thing is that if the ball's above your shoulder height, you've no control of the shot that you hit. You can't shot. So your percentages are against you. When I say you've got to refine things, that's one. If it's above shoulder high, leave it alone. Get under it and wear them out. They'll get fagged out. They really will if they keep banging the ball in that short, as we will. But we did the same and it brought dividends again. Why are they doing it? Because the pitches are so unresponsive. The pitches are that flat. I've said it before, they'll be serving it up in envelopes before long.
But listen, before I let you go, I'm curious. I was watching the cricket with some mates of mine over the weekend. You know, my knowledge of cricket isn't that great, but a bit like Danny, I'm loving the Ashes. When Nathan Lyon came on, of course, he could hardly walk. I was always under the impression, I remember watching cricket as a kid, that if you were injured, someone could run for you. That rule's obviously changed, right?
Yeah, it changed quite a number of years ago.
Oh, did it?
To stop people feigning injury and then having a runner. But you know, I think that time has gone. And it only needs a medical person to say he's incapacitated, he needs a runner. You can have an independent medical person say he cannot move, he needs a runner. So, because what we do, Andy, if you get hit on the head, you can have a concussion substitute. You can have a sub if you get hit on the head. But if you can't run, you can't have a runner. It seems a bit ambiguous to me.
Okay. Before I let you go, my last question. I know, of course, it all makes interesting viewing for, I think it's Thursday at Headingley. The atmosphere is going to be incredibly hostile. You said earlier on you think it's too late now for England, do you?
Yeah, well, before it all started, I had Australia 3-1. I thought they'd be too strong. England are obviously talking a good game. We've won 3 in a row before and we'll win 3 in a row again. Yeah, that's absolutely... I'll step back from that. You need a surface. You need the pitch. These two pitches, England are at home, have been an absolute waste of time for England, the two pitches that we've had. And England are at home. They'll need 3 pitches that will help England-style bowlers.
Bumble, you're a superstar. You know that anyway. Thanks so much for your time. We'll speak to you in a bit.
Chat again.
Thanks, pal. It's interesting what you were saying there, and I think we all agree that we need that hostile atmosphere. Headingley's going to be absolutely rocking, right? Well,
he seemed more concerned with the pitches, that they don't suit us, which is bizarre considering we're setting up the pitches.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We shall wait and see. I still think there's a few twists and turns in that.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.